Okay. So this is the semifinal of the Thanksgiving tournament. Evanston versus Mount Carmel. The other semifinal is going on right now on the central rink. So the winning team advances to the final. The losing team is done. Am I in the way or am I good? Okay. Looks like Connor McCabe will be in net. Oh. 2 linesmen and a ref.
I was asking where they're located.
Oh.
Because there's a Carmel up in Wonderland.
Yeah.
That's not these guys.
No.
Chilco's played for this team.
Oh, okay.
As a kid, as a high school kid.
No.
I think that's possibly true. I thought he played for
We got 2 linesmen and 1 ref. It's a different lineup. Oh.
Oh, that's really good.
So it is Connor McCabe in net. Up front it'll be Veland, Kaiser, and Wernick. And on D it'll be Eli Neal and Luke Brown. Veland over to the boards, back to Brown. Brown cross ice to Kaiser. Kaiser changes direction, knocked off the puck. Veland, pressure. Goes down on Neal's side to the corner. Kaiser with pressure also. Luke Brown clears the zone. Icing waved off. Kaiser on the forecheck. Veland intercepts the clear. Kaiser. Wernick now with pressure. Puck comes down Luke Brown's side. Goal by Mount Carmel at 13:06 in the first period. Okay, the Evanston line will now be Miller and Friese, Titus Lee, Chad Nicholson, and Elliot Alvarez up front. Or Caleb Nicholson, sorry. Miller up towards Lee. Lee with pressure. Nicholson keeps it in. Puck gets by Miller, back to Friese. Friese around the net. Nicholson now with pressure. Titus Lee. Lee gets it out of the zone. Alvarez with pressure on the puck. Nicholson intercepts the pass. Nicholson into the zone. Into the corner. Over to Alvarez. Alvarez centers to Lee. Lee shot. Deflected high. Nicholson recovers. Alvarez back to Nicholson. Nicholson into the corner. Takes down 2 Mount Carmel players. Over to Alvarez. Puck thrown in the corner by the Mount Carmel goalie. Titus Lee with pressure along the boards. Backed up by Nicholson. Nicholson comes out with the puck. Skates in. Shot by Friese. Friese throws it in. Puck comes back to Boswick. Goal by Mount Carmel at 11:46 in the first period. Defense will be Luke Brown and Eli Neal. Up front, Bostwick, Kaiser, and Wernick. Neal up towards Bostwick. Puck clear by Mount Carmel. Wernick with pressure. Brown. Brown turns the puck, gets in the neutral zone. Kaiser along the boards, backed up by Wernick and Brown. Kaiser still has it locked up. Puck comes out. Wraps around behind McCabe. Neal. Outlet to Bostwick. Slap shot from the point goes wide. Neal to the corner. Wernick. Kaiser. Up to Wernick. Wernick enters the zone. Backhand on net. Covered. Come on, Ronnie.
I hope that one.
Nicholson, Alvarez, and Lee up front. Friese and Miller at D for the faceoff. Puck comes out on Friese's side. Into the corner goes Miller. Friese clears. Alvarez comes out with it. Alvarez at center ice. Flips it in. Nicholson to the corner. Nicholson comes away with it. Alvarez. Miller. Puts it off the boards to Nicholson. Nicholson into the zone. Puck comes back on the Friese's side. Gloved by McCabe. Kaiser at the dot. Friese, pressure in the corner, takes it away. Chips it up towards Wernick. Blocked. Kaiser comes behind the net. Flips it along the boards towards Veland. Veland. Cross ice to Friese. Friese up to Kaiser. Offside on Evanston. Like the front line will stay Kaiser, Wernick, and Veland. D will be Brown and Neal. Wernick back to Brown. Brown throws it into the zone. Kaiser on the forecheck. Wernick comes up, pressure. Brown keeps it in, backhands it back to Wernick. Wernick in the corner. Kaiser now. Puck clear by Mount Carmel. Neal goes back to retrieve. Icing's waved off. Neal up towards Kaiser. Wernick. Kaiser. Puck on Brown's side. Shot wide. Kaiser. Up to Wernick. Saved by McCabe. Friese and Miller come out on D. Nicholson, Alvarez, and Lee up front. Alvarez comes out with it. Nicholson now along the boards. Nicholson into the zone. Lee. Nicholson. To Lee. Lee shot. Swallowed up by the Mount Carmel goalie. Same five stay on the ice. Nicholson at the dot. Nicholson in the corner. Alvarez now back to Nicholson. Nicholson shot. Clearing pass deflected by Nicholson. Frizey then on D. Miller gets the puck. Miller cross ice to Alvarez. Alvarez shot blocked by the D of Mt Carmel. Covered up by the goalie. Back to Frizey. Shots blocked. Bostwick. Bostwick gets the puck deep. Alvarez with pressure. Frizey. Frizey deflects the pass. Miller along the boards. Miller centers it to Bostwick. Kaiser back to Neal. Neal off the boards. Miller off the boards. Kaiser. Miller. Bostwick. Neal. Bostwick gets the puck in deep. Warnick on the forecheck. Kaiser keeps it in, throws it in deep. Wraps around to the other side. Bostwick with pressure. Brown. Neal. Brown. Neal. Warnick. Kaiser. Brown. Neal. Back to Brown in the corner. Pitchforks it up. Covered up by McCabe. Evening up the shots at least. Nicholson takes the face off. Alvarez in the corner. Chips it forward to the blue line. Oh, gets by the D. Alvarez now on the forecheck. Backed up by Brown and Nicholson. Nicholson with pressure knocks it away. And then Alvarez tips. Nicholson in the corner. To Alvarez. Alvarez centers it. Nicholson shot. Saved by the goalie. Brown. Luke Brown to Joel Frizey. Frizey up to Brown. Brown. Nicholson. Luke Brown with a shot. Save. Nicholson takes it behind the net. Elliot Alvarez. Alvarez centers it to Nicholson. Pops over his stick. Frizey shot. Blocked by Mt Carmel. Luke Brown on the D, forces him wide. Alvarez turns, wide open. Pass towards Nicholson. Goal by Mt Carmel, 4:56 left in the first. Frizey and Miller on D. Kaiser at the dot, flanked by Wernick and Veland. Kaiser wins it over towards Wernick. Puck comes down Frizey's side. Frizey forces him wide. Miller chips the centering pass away. McCabe with the save. Kaiser forces it to the blue line. Frizey, the corner up to Wernick. Puck gets out of the zone. Wernick with pressure. Veland tips it. Miller. Puck knocked away towards Frizey in the corner. Kaiser Miller tips it away. Wernick up to Veland. Outlet pass by Mount Carmel. Eli Neal back on D. Blocked by McCabe. Neal. Veland. Glove by McCabe. Puck comes out towards Alvarez. Alvarez now with the forecheck. Neal. Luke Brown. Brown wraps it around. Puck comes out to Titus Lee. Lee exits the zone. Nicholson. Nicholson tries to get it deep. Luke Brown. Alvarez over to Neal. Neal up to Titus Lee. Nicholson on the back check. Nicholson in the corner. Luke Brown over to Lee. Neal comes up, gets it out of the zone. Lee on the forecheck. Nicholson now. Puck comes down Brown's side. Brown gets a stick on the shot. Blocks the centering attempt. Wernick back to Brown. Covered up by McCabe. Miller and Friese on D. Kaiser, Wernick, and Bostwick up front. Puck to Wernick. Wernick gets the puck in deep. Bostwick comes down on the forecheck. Kaiser cuts off along the boards. Chips it to the corner. Bostwick cuts off the clear attempt. Wernick now with pressure. Miller comes over. Pass up to Bostwick. Miller. Friese. Miller. Bostwick. Puck gets by Miller. Miller blocks the centering attempt. Gets the puck, tries to pass it up. Puck deflected a couple times on the shot. Kaiser blocks the centering attempt, comes away with the puck off the back to Friese, up to Wernick. Wernick. Shot, goal. Goal by Bostwick. Off the shot from Wernick. Evanston 1, Mt Carmel 3. 56 seconds left in the first period.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt.
You reacted right away. Well, I didn't see the goal sign, did you? Nicholson, Lee, Alvarez up front, Neal and Brown on D. Nicholson wins the face-off back to Brown. Brown takes it far side, dumps in deep. Nicholson comes, gets the puck. Nicholson out to the point to Neal. Neal to Brown. Brown skates it in the corner. Nicholson comes up along the boards. Alvarez backs it up, gets the shot off. Covered up by the goalie. 27 seconds left. Same 5 stay on the ice. Alvarez back to Brown. Brown shot. Attempted tip by Nicholson. Puck wraps around Nicholson. Neal pitches, gets the puck in, keeps it in. Neal again, gets the puck in deep. Puck comes around towards Alvarez. Puck is cleared by Carmel. Oh!
Almost a nitpick.
Yeah. Okay, start of the second period. Looks like Nicholson, Lee, Alvarez up front, Donnell, and Frizy at D. Puck goes down to Donnell's side. Donnell changes direction. Up towards Nicholson. Saved by McCabe. Nicholson over Donnell. Donnell wraps it around to Frizy. Puck comes to Lee. Lee cleared. Passes to Nicholson. Nicholson leads out. Nicholson towards Alvarez. Alvarez back to Nicholson along the backboard. Centers it to Lee. Lee shot. Alvarez. Nicholson on the boards. Comes out to Donnell. Donnell makes it deep. Nicholson with pressure along the boards. Alvarez shoots it back down the boards. Nicholson. Alvarez comes over. Frizy passes to Nicholson. Puck deflects to the corner. Alvarez comes over. Nicholson comes away with it. Beelan. Frizy keeps it in. Puck squirts by. Donnell's back on D. McCabe passes it over to Kaiser. Alvarez. Puck goes back to Donnell's corner. Alvarez comes down. Shot wide by Carmel. Deflected shot saved by McCabe. Alvarez clears. Shots on goal. Beelan with forecheck. Wernick centers. Puck pops out to Brown. Brown dumps it in deep. Evanston tags up and re-enters his own. Wernick with the forecheck. Outlet pass. Miller goes back to retrieve. Miller wraps around the boards to Brown. Brown's outlet pass intercepted but leaves the zone. Brown again. Up towards Bostwick. Kaiser with forecheck. Kaiser fights it away, gains possession in the corner. Warnick goes over to help. Kaiser and Wernick on the corner. Pops out to Mt Carmel. Wernick on the forecheck. Brown keeps it in. Kaiser with pressure on the puck. Comes over to Miller's side. Miller wraps him up. Gains possession. Puck skips away, but Brown comes over and retrieves. Brown changes direction. Backhands up to Kaiser. Brown intercepts the shot up towards Wernick. Wernick chases to the corner. Bostwick. Miller pinches. Gets caught up with in the ref's skates. Bostwick comes away with it. Nicholson goes in on the forecheck. Bostwick with pressure. Wernick. Brown. Oh. Bostwick. Blow the damn whistle. Jesus. Okay, for Evanston at the face-off, it'll be Neal and Donald on D. Nicholson at the dot, flanked by Bostwick and Alvarez. Nicholson in the corner. Nicholson changes direction, skates behind the net, comes out. Exits the zone. Nicholson. Shot, blocker side. Neal gets it in deep. Puck comes down Donald's side. Saved by McCabe, covered up. Okay, Kaiser, Veland, and Wernick up front. Donald and Neal at D. Donald chips it out of the zone. Veland has the pressure. Carmel tags up. Neal goes back to retrieve. Neal to the corner. Donald now. Neal tips it. Wernick comes out with it. Wernick over the red. Wernick comes away with the puck. Wernick back to Donald. Donald's shot swallowed up by Mt Carmel. Front line stays Veland, Kaiser, and Wernick. D will be Friese and Miller. Kaiser back to Wernick to Miller. Miller shot covered up. Same five stay on the ice for Evanston. Veland with pressure. Then Wernick. Miller, center ice, gets it to the boards. Whelan, Miller, attempts to pass to Wernick. Offside on Evanston. Same 5 for this face-off. Miller into the corner. Whelan, Kaiser, Miller. Miller up back in the corner. Puck skips over Miller's stick. Frizy goes back to retrieve. Frizy again. Kaiser. Kaiser over to Wernick. Wernick tips it into the zone. Gives chase. Kaiser keeps it in. Back to Wernick. Wernick. Miller. Miller gets the puck in deep. Whelan. Mt Carmel covers. Be Neal and Donnell on defense. Lee, Bostwick, and Nicholson at the dot. Bostwick deflects the clearing attempt. Puck comes out to Donnell. Donnell into the neutral zone. Icing waved off. Neal up along the boards to Nicholson. Saved by McCabe. Donnell backhands it to Bostwick. Bostwick along the boards, center attempt. Second one. Nicholson on the forecheck. Bostwick comes up with the errant pass. Dumps it in deep. Nicholson on the forecheck. Nicholson comes away with it, centers the puck. Bostwick now. Puck comes out to Neal. Neal surveys, dumps it in. Nicholson on the forecheck. Neal comes up. Donnell gains possession up towards Lee. Lee off the boards. Lee into the zone. Wernick comes up. Puck comes down Donnell's side. Saved by McCabe. Miller comes over. Miller swipes at it twice. Lee comes away with it. Titus Lee along the short side of the rink. Miller comes in, chips it forward to Nicholson. Nicholson comes away. Nicholson's shot deflected by Mt Carmel goalie. Wernick. Puck comes out. Miller tips. Puck goes back to Frizy. Frizy over to Whelan. Whelan cross ice to Wernick. Puck goes deep in the corner. Wernick on forecheck. Wrapped around to Whelan. Puck leaves the zone. Icing. Kaiser, Whelan, Wernick up front, Frizy and Miller at D. Puck comes out to the blue line to Miller. Miller throws it back in. Kaiser along the boards. Miller, shot blocked. Puck comes down Frizy's side. Frizy knocks it away into the corner. Whelan with pressure on the point. Miller comes up. Beelan over to Wernick. Wernick knocked off the puck. Beelan with pressure. Pass goes wide, icing. Evanston changes up. It's like Luke Brown is okay and re-entering the game along with Eli Neal at D. Nicholson, Lee, and Alvarez up front. Nicholson back to Neal. Leaves the zone. Neal forward. Nicholson on the forecheck. Goes to goal. Luke Brown. Brown enters the zone. Nicholson back. Gains possession. Changes direction. Cross ice to Titus Lee. Donald back towards Neal. Eli Neal along the board. Nicholson. Donald. Back to Nicholson. Nicholson skates it out. Self-pass goes all the way to the goalie. Evanston changes up. It'll be Kaiser, Beelan, and Wernick up front. Friese and Miller at D. Kaiser holds the puck. Wernick. Puck wraps around. Beelan along the boards. Cave covers up. Face off. Same five on the ice for this face off. Kaiser back to Miller in the corner. Miller backhands it around the boards to Friese. Kaiser with pressure. Saved by McCabe. Miller behind the net. Friese comes away with it. Friese leads the break. Over to Wernick. Friese comes back, gets it down to Wernick again. Wernick centers to Beelan. Beelan's backhand wide. Wernick tips the pass. Miller back on D. Mount Carmel goal at 2:05 of the second period, 4-1. Carmel. It'll be Nicholson, Bostwick, and Alvarez up front, Donald and Neal at D. Neal goes back. Neal along the boards. Bostwick. Blocked by Nicholson. Caleb comes out with it. Caleb dumps in deep. Goes to retrieve. Alvarez almost gets there to the loose puck. Alvarez on the forecheck. Bostwick comes over, intercepts the pass. Puck cross ice to Donald. Donald off the boards to Alvarez. Alvarez ships it forward. Dumped in deep by Carmel. Donald Donald. Pass over to Neil. Neil gets it out of the zone. Carmel dumps deep. Donald. Alvarez comes back. Bostic with pressure, knocks the puck away from the board. Alvarez keeps it in, puts it on towards the net. Nicholson with pressure. Now Wernick. Puck comes on Donald's side. Bostic comes up offside. 41 seconds left in the second period. Kaiser, Thielen, and Wernick up front. Freise and Miller at D. Kaiser back to Miller. Miller skates with it up to Thielen. Thielen into the zone. Thielen checks the ice. Wernick with pressure. Kaiser comes over. Miller comes up. Kaiser. Kaiser around the net. Kaiser gains speed, leaving the zone. Skates in. Keeps it. Back to Freise. Freise slacker. Blocked. Puck comes down Miller's side. End of the second period. Mount Carmel up 4-1. 4 goals on 20 shots. Evanston 1 goal on 13 shots. Okay, start of the third period. Be Donald and Neil on D, Kaiser, Wernick, and Thielen up front. Icing on Mount Carmel. Same 5 stay out for the offensive zone faceoff. Of course you need. Yeah, text Kofi, that's true. Kaiser back to Wernick. Wernick shots deflected. Wernick over with pressure along the boards. Throws it to the center of the ice. Donald comes over. Pressure on the puck handler. We're Thielen now. Kaiser. Donald knocks the puck away into the corner. Neil gains possession. Neil up to Thielen. Thielen out of the zone. Puck chipped back in. Neil comes away with it. Neil up to Thielen. Puck dumped in deep. Donald to retrieve. Donald around the net. Surveys. Cross ice to Thielen. Thielen enters the O-zone. Shot. Blocked by Mount Carmel. Kaiser with pressure on the puck. Kaiser throws it over to Thielen. Thielen along the goal line. Puck goes back to the corner. Kaiser now. Kaiser fights for it. Veland comes in. Puck goes deep. Carmel takes around their own net. Wernick deflects the outlet pass. Dumped deep by Mount Carmel. Fornice. Nicholson, Alvarez, and Lee up front. Miller and Frizy on D. Nicholson passed it back to Frizy to Miller. Miller's shot. Covered up by Carmel. Weird.
That's hard to do.
Same 5 for this face-off. Nicholson ties up the centerman. Lee, Frizy. Frizy with pressure still, knocks it away. Nicholson comes back. Alvarez. Lee with pressure. Frizy turns in the corner, throws it out of the defensive zone. Titus Lee with pressure. Nicholson deflects the dump in. Frizy backhands it. Alvarez in the corner. Nicholson comes over, shoots it along the boards into the chest of McCabe. Neal and Donald come out on D. Nicholson, Alvarez, and Lee stay up on the front line. Alvarez forward out of the zone. Gives chase. Puts pressure. Knocks the puck away momentarily. Mount Carmel dumps into Neal. Neal in the corner. Neal outlets towards Lee. Puck leaves the zone. Puck dumped in. Mount Carmel tags up. Nicholson along the boards. Alvarez. Nicholson hands it down to himself. Neal. Donald. Oh, off the... Nicholson comes away with it to the corner. Neal goes back to retrieve. Ties up. Nicholson. Donald up to Alvarez. Alvarez with space. Played by the Mount Carmel goalie to avoid Bostwick with forecheck. Bostwick in the corner. Wernick. Frizy. Kaiser. Kaiser enters the zone. Kaiser in the corner. Centering pass. Kicks out Miller. Puck to the center. Kaiser with the shot, and Wernick comes in. Kaiser in the corner. Bostwick with pressure behind the net. Wernick comes over. Kaiser comes out to the blue line, gains possession. Over to Wernick. Wernick with the pass. Kaiser chases. Wernick to the boards. Wernick dumps it to the corner. Pressure. Carmel's outlet pass. Miller comes up. Miller knocks it away to Bostwick. Miller comes up. Bostwick. Bostwick skates it out. Bostwick shot deflected to the corner. Bostwick goes and retrieves. Miller's shot deflected to the corner. Bostwick retrieves in the corner, dumps it in deep to Wernick. Wernick behind, tries the centering pass. Kaiser deflects the outlet pass. Kaiser with more pressure along the boards. Frizy there too. Bostwick. Frizy. Frizy up to Kaiser. Kept in the zone by Mount Carmel. Frizy over to Miller. Kaiser wraps it around. Wernick goes to retrieve along the boards. Shoots it forward. Enters the zone on Frizzy's side. Miller tries to chip it forward, unsuccessful. Saved by McCabe. Donald and Neal come out on D. Nicholson, Alvarez, and Lee up front. Nicholson to the boards. Phelan, Lee with pressure. Lee deflects the shot from the point. Donald back with pressure behind the net. Neal knocks it away. Now Donald comes away with it in the corner. Backhands it up to Lee. Nicholson over to Lee. Nicholson. Nicholson dumps in the opposite corner. Intercepted. Donald now. Donald backhands it to Neal. Dumped in deep by Mt Carmel. Donald to Alvarez. Cross ice to Lee. Lee enters the zone. Lee's pass deflected. Nicholson now with pressure on the puck. Lee comes away with it. Nicholson knocks the puck away on Frizzy's side. Shot goes wide, comes out. Miller goes up along the boards. Offside, tag up by Mt Carmel. To Miller. Miller up to Lee. Puck comes down Frizzy's side. Shot wide into the protective netting. 6:49 left in the third. Evanston changes up. It'll be Wernick, Veland, and Kaiser up front. Frizzy and Miller stay on D. Kaiser ties up, Veland pokes to the board. Frizzy in front of the net, reverses. Goes behind, backhand to Miller. Miller backhands it to the board. Mt Carmel wraps around, short side. Deflected by McCabe to the back. Frizzy. Kaiser up to Wernick. Wernick skates out. Passes to Veland, intercepted. Frizzy comes up, bodies it forward. Frizzy, pressure along the outside. Takes the body in the corner. Kaiser comes over. Kaiser backed up by Frizzy. Wernick up ice. Frizzy, the center Veland with pressure. Saved by McCabe. Frizzy. Kaiser. Pass to center. Pass out to the blue line. Veland with pressure. Saved by McCabe and covered up. Donald and Neal come out on D. Alvarez, Nicholson, and Lee up front. Alvarez with pressure on the puck. Puck dumped in deep. Neal in the far corner. Neal chips it forward to the blue line. Titus Lee blocks the dump-in attempt. Lee with pressure on the forecheck. Nicholson keeps it in. Skates along the blue. It's knocked off. Now comes back. Alvarez dumps it in. Nicholson with pressure. Nicholson takes the puck away, dumps it in deep. Fights for it in the corner. Alvarez comes in, takes the puck, kicks it to his stick. Puck comes down. Lee with pressure on Neal's side. Neal kicks the dump-in attempt and clears the zone. Nicholson with pressure on the puck. Mount Carmel takes it in. Comes down Donald's side. Donald blocks the shot. Alvarez and Nicholson fight for it. Nicholson tied up. Donald skates it out over the blue. Into the zone. Center. Nicholson. Donald. Bostwick. Two roughing penalties on one on each team. Teams will stay, it looks like it. Teams will stay at 5-on-5. Bostwick, Wernick, and Kaiser up front. Miller and Friese on D. Wernick. Bostwick. Passes up to Wernick. Miller. Bostwick along the boards. Miller keeps it in. Pitchforks at the back. Puck cleared by Mount Carmel for the ice. Same five stay on the ice for the face-off. Kaiser over Bostwick. Bostwick shot deflected and covered. Same lineup. Kaiser knocks it away briefly. Alvarez up the boards towards Wernick. Miller comes up. Saved by McCabe. Three sets of eyes. They should see that. Neal and Donald come out on D. Neal and Donald on D. Same five up front. Same three up front. Kaiser kicked out of the shot for some reason. Wernick comes in, wins the face-off. Deflects the centering pass. Donald comes over. Neal gets it up to the point. Saved by McCabe. Neal flicks it forward to Bostwick. Neal to the corner. Neal knocks the puck away. Kaiser comes away with it. Kaiser skates it along the boards. Kaiser shot deflected. Wernick. Donald comes up. Puck cleared. Neal. Cross ice to Bostwick. Up to Kaiser. Shot by Bostwick, I think. Kaiser along the board. Kaiser backed up by Bostwick. Miller pinches. Puck gets by. Wernick. Back to Donald. Donald's pass deflected. Miller. Over to Kaiser. Kaiser dumps it in. Evanston changes up. Lee with the pressure. Comes down towards Alvarez. Miller back on D. Alvarez. Miller. Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, you're kicked out, Miller. That's a game misconduct, I bet. Yes, he did. I mean, they called that one, but looks like it'll be 4-on-4. Titus Lee comes out with it. Nicholson. It's Nicholson, Lee, Velan, and Frizy. Nicholson comes out. Frizy. Nicholson. Nicholson behind the net. Along the boards, Nicholson backs up. Puck wrapped around by Mt Carmel, comes to Frizy. Frizy up towards Lee. Picked up by McCabe. Game is over. Mt Carmel scored 4 goals on 27 shots. Evanston 1 goal on 15 shots.